Got a goal and you just can't hit it? Well, fill up here and we'll help you get it. Learn the Goal Achievement Success System here on Goal Getting Podcast and put some gas in your goals to power you to the finish line. Let's go, friends. Rev up your engines and let's take off for success. Hey, goal getters, welcome to the show. This is your host, Tony Woodall, and I am excited to be here today. I'm recording live with Boss Jock Studio, and I wanted to make sure that this works well. Today is our first episode starting again on our weekly program. Today we're going to be talking about a quote to start with from Bruce Lee. I like to do quotes, and this is part of our quote from Quote of the Day, if you want to call it that. We've stopped doing the Quote of the Day at the moment, but you could always use a good quote. And usually when I'm interviewing my expert guests, I always ask them, what's the quote that hangs on your wall? And what is the quote that hangs on your wall? Why don't you let us know in our comment section at goalgettingpodcast.com/S2E40. S2E40. We would love to know what your quote that hangs on your wall is. So let's start with this. Bruce Lee says, always be yourself. Express yourself. Have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it. Don't go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it. Always be yourself. Express yourself. Have faith in yourself. Who do you think you are? Who are you? What is it to be yourself that Bruce is talking about here? About 3 years ago, I started wondering who I was, or more specifically, I was looking for what my calling was. I wasn't happy in my current career choice. I had worked in the field for many years, but wasn't feeling it anymore. I had actually changed careers from that career about 5 years earlier, but went back into it after the mortgage crash. I had to get work, and that was what I knew. So I had left IT and the information or enterprise content management field, and, well, I had gone into a role, in a sales role as a loan officer, and I loved it. But the mortgage crash dashed that career. And at the end of that run, I also purchased a coffee news franchise. I became a publisher of good news and sold advertising to local businesses. I loved it too. And while doing these two careers that I had, I started attending Business Networking International, also known as BNI, and learned how to network, how to do business networking, how to go out and talk to businesses and help them grow their business and build with referrals, do referral networking. It was a great program. I encourage you to follow up and maybe attend a BNI meeting. I have a link to BNI, Business Networking International, on our show notes page at goalgettingpodcast.com/S2E40. I also have a link to Coffee News. It's actually a great program, good paper. I really enjoyed working with Coffee News, Bill Buckley and his team up there at Coffee News, and I really loved working in the local community. So those are two things that I really loved. The other thing, I joined and worked in local chambers of commerces, and I loved it too. I loved to network with the local business and community leaders. I loved helping businesses grow and to build their business and networks. Unfortunately, the economy that was driven by real estate and the building market in the local areas where I worked went down considerably with the mortgage crash, and that business failed as well. So I lost my loan officer business, I lost my Coffee News business, and I was unable to pay the bills, so I couldn't afford health insurance. I had to find a part-time job, which I did, working at a local grocery store bakery for a couple years, and I eventually worked my way up to a bakery manager position. You know me, I always strive to be my best and excel. I couldn't just be a bakery clerk, but that wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So I started looking for something with my prior experience and skills that could bring in a good salary. I was offered a position in the field I had left before in enterprise content management in a lending role and moved to California. And well, after a couple years, I kind of realized I wasn't happy doing this. It paid well, and I was well respected among my peers, but I just didn't enjoy it anymore. I wasn't feeling like I was making an impact. I wasn't feeling satisfied or significant. I wasn't happy. So I heard about and then read Jeff Goins' book, The Art of Work. Jeff said to think about what you were doing when you were the happiest in your life. What were you doing when you loved going to work, or what did you do when you weren't at work, but it made you the happiest? And I picked up a copy of Jeff's book, The Art of Work, and I sat down one day when I went for an early morning walk in the East Bay Hills near my house, which I love to do, by the way, and I started thinking about when I was the happiest. And I realized that when I was doing these things, meeting new people, marketing, business networking, working with and building communities online and offline, speaking at events, training people, motivating others to reach and achieve their goals, social media, and writing. Well, I started thinking, let's start working on some of those skills and things that I could do to build that up again, because I really did enjoy that. So I joined a new Toastmasters club that our company had started so I could improve my public speaking skills and start meeting new people in the company. I started taking marketing and social media classes at UC Berkeley Extension. I decided I wanted to start working towards a career in marketing, social media, public speaking, something along that line. And I realized that the type of career that would work well for all the things that I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, what would make me happy and satisfied was something in the line of community management, being a community manager. So I started researching and learning what it would take to do that. Well, this was who I was. This was what would make me happy. Really? How did I know? Well, this has been a long discourse to get to the point of this podcast episode, which is to talk about who do you think you are? If, as Bruce Lee says, you should be yourself, express yourself, have faith in yourself, then shouldn't you know who you really are? How the heck do you do that? Well, I started by doing what Jeff Goins suggested. I did find my dream job as a community manager. One of the great benefits of our company is that they value their employees. One of the benefits is they often allow us to take personality tests. Yes, there are personality tests, folks, and I've taken a few over the years, but I never really took the results and looked at what they meant. I just took them because I had to, or because it was just part of the training or whatever that I was going through. So I wanted to look at it a little bit further, but they're developed to give you an idea of the strengths and weaknesses you have based on your personality. Your personality, not somebody else's. And as Bruce Lee says, don't look for a successful personality and duplicate it. You have to be yourself. Well, there are several types of these tests, and I've taken a couple of them different times, and some I've just kind of blown off before, but one of them is the Gallup Strengths Finder test. The other is Myers-Briggs, DISC, 16 personalities, and there's probably, many, many more. I can't remember all the names of them. Those are the ones I'm most familiar with. And we were given the opportunity to take a couple of these this year, and I have been amazingly surprised how accurate they are. I took the Gallup Strengths Finder test and the 16 personalities test so far this year. Now, the Gallup Strengths Finder, I have a link to the Gallup Strengths Finder test on our website on the show notes. You can go check that out. And it cost a few dollars to take, but it's well worth it. Luckily, again, our company paid for it, so it really was helpful for me. Now, there are 34 themes in this test. We signed up for the top 5 themes test that shows you your top 5 themes that define the majority of your personality. My top 5 are strategic, activator, self-assurance, significance, and futuristic. And these are my most dominant themes of the 34 the test actually tests for. These are very important. The program also puts together an action plan for you to use to help maximize these strengths. And I encourage you to get your action plan and work through that. To help show what this means, here are the top 2 of the 5 I'm going to talk about. They describe strategic as the strategic theme enables you to sort through the clutter and find the best route. It is not a skill that can be taught. It is a distinct way of thinking, a special perspective on the world at large. Oh, how about that? I got a special skill. But that's true. I do have that skill, and I realize it, but I never really think about it. And this perspective allows you to see patterns where others simply see complexity. Mindful of these patterns, you play out alternative scenarios, always asking, what if this happened? Okay, well, what if this happened? This recurring question helps you see around the next corner. There you can evaluate accurately the potential obstacles. Guided by where you see each path leading, you start to make selections. You discard the paths that lead nowhere. You discard the paths that lead straight into resistance. You discard the paths that lead into a fog of confusion. You cull and make selections until you arrive at the chosen path, your strategy. Armed with your strategy, you strike forward. This is your strategic theme at work. What if? Select, strike. And that's me. That is basically part of my thought process. I do see patterns in things. I love to see things that, like, the patterns in the way things work, and I can see those, and I do try to look at what if I did this, what's going to happen, and then choose the path that will hopefully work correctly for us. So I do use that. The second one, my second strongest strength, is activator. An activator is, when can we start? This is a recurring question in your life. You are impatient for action. You may concede that analysis has its uses, or that debate and discussion can occasionally yield some valuable insights, but deep down you know that only action is real. Only action can make things happen. Only action leads to performance. Once a decision is made, you cannot not act. Others may worry that there still are some things we don't know, but this doesn't seem to slow you. If the decision has been made to go across town, the fastest way to get there is to go, It goes on into some more. But yeah, I like action, and that's one of my favorite quotes. It's one of the quotes that hangs on my wall. I'm sitting here looking at it as I'm recording here in my office. It says, "Never mistake motion for action," from Ernest Hemingway. And when I saw that, I said, hey, that means so much. But, I honestly, for a long time, I put that kind of in the back burner. I didn't act on a lot of the things that I thought about. But as I started developing my personality a little bit more and growing a little bit more and going through some of the things, I think I've actually changed more into that. And I've always been that way, where I found something that I really believed in and I thought it would work. I knew it was the right thing. I would just go ahead and do it. And, my boss and we got along really well at one of the old companies I had, because we were implementing loan origination systems and things when I ran the IT department. And one of the things he said, he was, I think, the same way. He was, let's build the car while it's running. And, we kind of did that several times, building a mortgage company, and it was fun. We had a great time. We enjoyed that. And again, that's when I was happiest, when I was doing that. So that's, from the Gallup Strengths Finders test. That's two of the top 5 that I have, and there's 3 others. And if you want to find out about that, let me know in the comment section, and I'll go over it a little bit more sometime. But take that test at the link that I have. I think it's like $15 for the top 5 test, but it's well worth it, and you get a lot of information out of that. Look at your action plan with that. The other test I just recently took was 16 personalities. And again, I have a link for that on our show notes page as well. And you can get that on our show notes page at goalgettingpodcast.com/S2-E40. When I took the 16 personalities test, which I said is free, so you don't have to pay for it, I find that I am an ENFJ, also known as the protagonist. And you can learn what each personality is. There's, I think, 16 personalities, or they would call it 16 personalities, but there's 16 personalities, and the ENFJ is the protagonist. And you can learn what each personality is and the characteristic of each. And like the Strengths Finders test, I find the 16 personalities test to be pretty accurate. Here are a couple points from the test that I feel describe me. These are the strengths, of course. I'm only going to talk about the strengths. There are negatives or weaknesses, not so much negatives, but there are weaknesses for, these different personalities. And, it's important to understand both your strengths and your weaknesses and pay attention to those. These are some of the strengths. ENFJs are genuine, caring people who talk the talk and walk the walk, and nothing makes them happier than leading the charge, uniting and motivating their team with infectious enthusiasm. I think that pretty much describes me most of the time. I do believe that I talk the talk and walk the walk. I love motivating people. Obviously, part of the podcast here is to help keep you motivated and help you reach your goals. And I do love leading the charge. I like being in charge and helping unite the teams to do what needs to be done. Charismatic, charm, and popularity are qualities ENFJs have in spades. I don't feel that, but I guess I do in respects. The ENFJs instinctively know how to capture an audience and pick up on mood and motivation in ways that allow them to communicate with reason, emotion, passion, restraint, whatever the situation calls for. Talented imitators, ENFJs are able to shift their tone and manner to reflect the needs of the audience while still maintaining their own voice. Altruistic, uniting these qualities, ENFJs' unyielding desire to do good in and for their communities, be it in their own home or the global stage. Warm and selfless, ENFJs genuinely believe that if they can just bring people together, they would do a world of good. And natural leaders, more than seeking authority themselves, ENFJs often end up in leadership roles at the request of others, cheered on by the many admirers of their strong personality and positive vision. Now that's very interesting, and I have to agree that they are fairly accurate, not trying to be boastful or anything like that, but as I've lived my life, especially in the last several years, that I really kind of do follow or believe that those are some of my personalities. And, so it's fairly accurate. And essentially both tests say the same thing about my personality. So if you look at these traits and characteristics of my personality and the things that made me the happiest when I was doing them, you can see why that makes me happy. Those are the things that I like to do because it is me. It is who I am. So what is the point of all this? Why am I telling you my personality, my tests that I've taken? Why am I telling you that? Well, it's to understand what Bruce Lee is saying, and it is to understand you. If you want to be successful at your career, if you want to live a happy, satisfied, fulfilling life, then you need to be you. You need to be yourself, express yourself, and have faith in yourself. Find your calling. If you are in your calling, live it with passion. Find these personality strengths and the weaknesses and take action needed to use them for your life. I have a career now doing what I am. I am a community manager for the company I work for. I am a podcaster helping people set and achieve their goals. I help people take action and get the goals they set. I'm actually the happiest I've been a long time doing what I love and what I am. And are you? Take one of these tests, any one of them. Be honest when you're taking them. Find out who you really are, and then set your goals to be what you are. If your goals are not in alignment with who you are, then you're going to have the hardest time achieving them. Your subconscious mind is going to work to sabotage you, and we don't want to let our minds play goalie for the other team. So go out today, be yourself, express yourself, have faith in yourself, be you, and be successful. Thank you for listening to today's show. This is Tony Woodall, your host for Goal Getting Podcast. I hope you take some of these tests, find out about what your strengths are, and I'd love to hear what you found out. If you go to our show notes page, in the comment section, connect with me. Let me know what your strengths are. If you don't want to share it with everybody, you can email me your results and your tests, and let's talk about it on our on email. You can email me at tony@goalgettingpodcast.com. The other thing that you could do is I've created a private Facebook group called Goal Getting Masters. And if you're a goal getter and you want to learn to take advantage of these strengths and create your goals and set goals, we've started this private Facebook group to have a place for you to meet other like-minded, goal-oriented people that will support you and help you get the goals you set. If you want to be part of the Goal Getting Masters group, go to goalgettingpodcast.com/masters. Sign up and I'll add you to the group. I'll get your email and put you in and send you an invitation. But come prepared to participate and share your goals with other goal getters. I also want to let you know that I get a lot of my quotes from great books that I read. And I talked about Jeff Goins' Art of Work. And if you like to listen to books on audio like I do, I put together a deal with Audible to give Goal Getting Podcast listeners a free audiobook of your choice and a 30-day trial of Audible's services to try them out. All you have to do is go to goalgettingbook.com and you can sign up to get your free audiobook. Maybe try out Jeff Goins' book, The Art of Work, and you can also try a 30-day trial of their service. So thank you for checking that out. I also have links for those on our show notes page as well. So thank you so much for listening. We are now on iTunes, and have been on iTunes for over a year, but we are now on Google Music Play. Yes, Google Music Play is a new thing. If you're an Android user and you want to listen on Google Music, you can go to Google Music Play, their podcast section, and check out the links that we have for that on our show notes page or wherever you can through Google Music Play. But join us on all of our social media sites. There are links on our show notes page as well. So look forward to talking with you. Let me know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are in those tests. Take the 16 personalities. What are you? There's, like I said, 16 different personalities. I'm an ENFJ, and I am me. And hopefully you are you, and you're doing what you need to do to live a long, happy, healthy life. And this is Tony Woodall, as I said, your host for Goal Getting Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week.